Singapore joining BRICS? That's like expecting a cat to join a group of dogs and get along. But let's be real for a second. Why exactly is it impossible for Singapore to join this elite group of nations? Let's break it down. But first, let's dive into how this tiny nation became such a big deal. Back in 1963, Singapore joined Malaysia, kind of like that kid who's invited to a party but quickly realizes that the vibe isn't right. On one side, you had Singapore with its Chinese majority population, and on the other, Malaysia rocking a Malay majority government. They were like oil and water, and trust me, things got messy. Tensions were sky high, like a reality TV show that no one asked for. Between economic competition, political differences, and a good old splash of ethnic friction, things escalated fast. Singapore, led by Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, who, by the way, was not here for any inequality nonsense, pushed for equal rights for all ethnic groups. Meanwhile, Malaysia was playing favorites. Spoiler alert, it didn't end well. By 1965, the relationship was like a bad marriage. Racial riots, political discord. It was like the plot of a disaster movie, only it wasn't fiction. Malaysia's Prime Minister Tunku Abdul Rahman finally said, yeah, this isn't working out, and kicked Singapore out of the federation. And just like that, on August 9th, 1965, Singapore was flying solo. But, surprise, Singapore didn't just survive, it thrived. Today, it's one of the most prosperous nations on earth. Think of it like the nerdy kid in school who suddenly becomes a tech billionaire and buys the entire school. Yeah, that's Singapore. Now back to BRICS. Sure, Singapore's got strong ties with BRICS countries, especially China, but that doesn't mean it can sit with them. It's like trying to sit with the cool kids in the cafeteria when you're best friends with the teacher. Awkward. A major reason for this is Singapore's very close relationship with Western powers. A perfect example, Singapore backed the West in sanctioning Russia after the whole Ukraine invasion thing. While its Southeast Asian neighbors stayed neutral, Singapore was like, nah, I'm siding with my Western buddies. Russia, of course, was not impressed and immediately put Singapore on its unfriendly countries list, like the worst Facebook unfriend ever. And it's not just about who's on whose list. Singapore's military basically grew up with the help of the West. Fun fact, the Singaporean military was partly set up with help from the Israeli Defense Forces, and it buys its shiny toys, ahem, military equipment, from Western sources. It's like being in a band where all your instruments are rented from the same shop. Are you really gonna start jamming with someone else? Oh, and let's not forget the US military presence in Singapore. Sure, they don't have a permanent base, but they use Singapore's facilities for deployments and military exercises. It's kind of like a house guest who doesn't officially live with you but keeps showing up for dinner. You don't just kick them out one day and invite someone else over, especially not someone the US doesn't get along with. On the finance side, Singapore's basically joined at the hip with the West. American corporations, think Microsoft, JP Morgan, and their gang, have pumped so much money into Singapore, it's like a financial lifeline. Joining BRICS, that would be like throwing all those investments out the window. And Singapore likes its fancy skyline just the way it is. Thank you very much. So yeah, if Singapore joined BRICS, it would be awkward. Very awkward. Picture Uncle Sam slapping sanctions on Singapore and every multinational corporation packing up and leaving. Not a good look. Singapore joining BRICS is like asking the US to join BRICS. Seriously, you think that's gonna happen? Not in this lifetime. But hey, maybe in an alternate universe where cats rule the world and dogs serve them coffee. So, what do you think? Is there any way Singapore could join BRICS, or is this just a pipe dream? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, folks, Singapore might be small, but it sure knows how to play big. Just not with BRICS. Not today. Not ever.